There, oops.
द्रव्ययज्ञास्तपो यज्ञाः योगयज्ञास्तथा परे स्वाध्यायज्ञानयज्ञाश्च यतयः संशितौ व्रताः.
There are others who, enlightened by sacrificing their material possessions in severe austerities, take strict vows and practice the yoga of eightfold mysticism, and others study the Vedas for the advancement of transcendental knowledge. These sacrifices may be fitted into various divisions. There are persons who are sacrificing their possessions in the form of various kinds of charities. In India, the rich mercantile community or princely orders open various kinds of charitable institutions like Dharmasala, Anakastra, Atithysala, Anatalaya, Vidyapitha, etc. In other countries, too, there are many hospitals, old age homes, and similar charitable foundations meant for distributing food, education, and medical treatment free to the poor. All these charitable activities are called Dravamaya Yajna. There are others who, for higher elevation in life or for promotion of higher planets within the universe, voluntarily accept many kinds of austerities, such as Kandrayana or Chaturmasaya. These processes entail severe vows of conducting life under certain rigid rules. For example, under the Chaturmasaya vow, the candidate does not shave for 4 months during the year, July to October, and he does not eat certain foods, does not eat twice in a day, and does not leave home. Such sacrifice of the comforts of life is called Tapomaya Yajna. There are still others who engage themselves in different kinds of mystic yogas, like the Patanjali system, for merging into the existence of the absolute, or Hatha Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga, for particular perfections. And some travel to all the sanctified places of pilgrimage. All these practices are called Yoga Yajna, sacrifice for a certain type of perfection in the material world. There are others who engage themselves in the studies of different Vedic literatures, specifically the Upanishads, the Vedanta Sutras, or the Sankhya philosophy. All of these are called Sadvaya Yajna, or engagement in the sacrifice of studies. All these yogis are faithfully engaged in different types of sacrifice and are seeking a higher status of life. Krishna consciousness is, however, different from these because it is the direct service of the Supreme Lord. Krishna consciousness cannot be attained by one of the above mentioned types of sacrifices, but can be attained by the mercy of the Lord, but can be attained only by the mercy of the Lord and his bona fide devotee. Therefore, Krishna conscious is incidental. Hold on. Now I don't know what I'm doing. Hold on 1 second. I just wanted to mute because it's picking up background. Okay.
अपाने जुह्वति प्राणम् प्राणे पानं तथा परे प्राणापानगतिरुद्ध्वा प्राणायामपरायणाः अपरे नियताहाराः प्राणान् प्राणेषु जुह्वति.
And there are even others who are inclined to the process of breath restraint to remain in trance, and they practice stopping the movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming and the incoming breath into the outgoing. and thus at last remained in trance, stopping all breathing. Some of them, curtailing the eating process, offer the outgoing breath into itself as a sacrifice. The system of yoga for controlling the breathing process is called pranayama, and in the beginning, it is practiced in the hatha yoga system through different sitting positions. All of these processes are recommended for the controlling the senses and for advancement in spiritual realization. This practice involves controlling the air with the body to enable simultaneous passage in opposite directions. The apana air goes downward and the prana air goes up. The pranayama yogi practices breathing the opposite way until the currents are neutralized into paraka, equilibrium. Similarly, when the exhaled breathing is offered to inhale breathing, it is called rakaka. When both air currents are completely stopped, it is called kumbhaka yoga. By practice of kumbhaka yoga, the yogis increase the duration of life by many, many years. A Krishna conscious person, however, being always situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, automatically becomes the controller of the senses. His senses, being always engaged in the service of Krishna, have no chance of becoming otherwise engaged. So at the end of life, he is naturally transferred to the transcendental plane of Lord Krishna. Consequently, he makes no attempt to increase his longevity. He is at once raised to the platform of liberation. A Krishna conscious person begins from the transcendental stage, and he is constantly in that consciousness. Therefore, there is no falling down, and ultimately he enters into the abode of the Lord without delay. The practice of reduced eating is automatically done when one eats only Krishna prasadam, or food which is offered first to the Lord. Reducing the eating process is very helpful in the matter of sense control. And without sense control, there is no possibility of getting out of the material entanglement.
सर्वेऽप्येते यज्ञविदः यज्ञक्षपितकल्मषाः यज्ञशिष्टामृतभुजः यान्ति ब्रह्म सनातनम्.
All these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reaction, and having tasted the nectar of the remnants of such sacrifice, they go to the supreme eternal atmosphere. From the foregoing explanation of different types of sacrifice, namely sacrifice of one's possessions, study of the Vedas or philosophical doctrines, and performance of the yoga system, it is found that the common aim of all is to control the senses. Sense gratification is the root cause of material existence. Therefore, unless and until one is situated on a platform apart from sense gratification, there is no chance of being elevated to the eternal platform of full knowledge, full bliss, and full life. This platform is the eternal atmosphere or Brahman atmosphere. All the above mentioned sacrifices help one to become cleansed of the sinful reactions of material existence. By this advancement in life, one not only becomes happy and opulent in this life, but also at the end, he enters into the eternal kingdom of God, either merging into the impersonal Brahman or associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna.
नायं लोकोऽस्त्ययज्ञस्य कुतोऽन्यः कुरु सत्तमा.
O best of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice, one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next? Whatever form of the material existence one is invariably ignorant of his real situation. In other words, existence in the material world is due to the multiple reactions of our sinful lives. Ignorance is the cause of sinful life, and sinful life is the cause of one's dragging on in material existence. The human form of life is the only loophole by which one may get out of this entanglement. The Vedas, therefore, give us a chance for escape by pointing out the paths of religion, economic comfort, regulated sense gratification, and at last, the means to get out of the miserable condition entirely. The path of religion, or the different kinds of sacrifices, or the different kinds of sacrifice recommended above, automatically solves our economic problems. By performance of yajna, we can have enough food, enough milk, etc., even if there is a so-called increase of population. When the body is fully supplied, naturally the next stage is to satisfy the senses. The Vedas prescribe, therefore, sacred marriage for regulated sense gratification. Thereby, one is gradually elevated to the platform of release from material bondage, and the highest perfection of liberated life is to associate with the Supreme Lord. Perfection is achieved by performance of yajna, sacrifice, as described above. Now, if a person is not inclined to perform yajna according to the Vedas, how can he expect a happy life? There are different grades of material comforts in different heavenly planets, and in all cases, there is immense happiness for persons engaged in different kinds of yajna. But the highest kind of happiness that a man can achieve is to be promoted to the spiritual planets by practice of Krishna consciousness. A life of Krishna consciousness is therefore the solution to all problems of material existence.
एवं बहुविधा यज्ञाः विततः ब्रह्मणो मुखे कर्मजान् विद्धितान् सर्वान् एवं ज्ञात्वा विमोक्ष्यसे.
All these different types of sacrifices are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. Different types of sacrifice, as discussed above, are mentioned in the Vedas to suit the different types of worker. Because men are so deeply absorbed in the bodily concept, these sacrifices are so arranged that one can work either with the body, the mind, or the intelligence. But all of them are recommended for ultimately bringing about liberation from the body. This is confirmed by the Lord herewith from his own mouth.
श्रेयान् द्रव्यमयाद् यज्ञात् ज्ञानयज्ञः परं तप सर्वं कर्माखिलं पार्थ ज्ञाने परिसमाप्यते.
O chastier of the enemy, the sacrifice of knowledge is greater than the sacrifice of material possessions. O son of Pertha, after all, the sacrifice of work culminates in transcendental knowledge. The purpose of all sacrifices is to arrive at the status of complete knowledge, then to gain release from the material miseries, and ultimately to engage in loving transcendental service to the Supreme Lord, Krishna consciousness. Nonetheless, there is a mystery about all of these different activities of sacrifice, and one should know this mystery. Sacrifices sometimes take different forms according to the particular faith of the performer. When one's faith reaches the stage of transcendental knowledge, the performer of sacrifices should be considered more advanced than those who simply sacrifice material possessions without such knowledge. For without attainment of knowledge, sacrifices remain on the material platform and bestow no spiritual benefit. Real knowledge culminates in Krishna consciousness, the highest stage of transcendental knowledge. Without the elevation of knowledge, sacrifices are simply material activities. When, however, they are elevated to the level of transcendental knowledge, all such activities enter onto the spiritual platform. Depending on differences in consciousness, sacrificial activities are sometimes called karma kanda, fruitive activities, and sometimes jnana kanda, knowledge in the pursuit of the truth. Knowledge in pursuit of truth. It is better when the end is knowledge.
तद्विद्धि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेक्ष्यन्ति ते ज्ञानम् ज्ञानिनस्तत्त्वदर्शिनः.
Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. The path of spiritual realization is undoubtedly difficult. The Lord, therefore, advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession from the Lord himself. No one can be a bona fide spiritual master without following this principle of disciplic succession. The Lord is the original spiritual master, and a person in the disciplic succession can convey the message of the Lord as it is to his disciple. No one can be spiritually realized by manufacturing his own process, as it is the fashion of the foolish pretenders. The Bhagavatam says, Dharnam hai saksed Bhagavat pranitam. The path of religion is directly enunciated by the Lord. Therefore, mental speculation or dry arguments cannot help one progress in spiritual life. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. Inquiries and submission constitute the proper combination for spiritual understanding. Unless there is submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. One must be able to pass the test of spiritual master, and when he sees the genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. In this verse, both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. One should not only hear submissively from the spiritual master, but one must also get a clear understanding from him in submission and service and inquiries. A bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind toward the disciple. Therefore, when the student is submissive and is always ready to render service, the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries become perfect. I just want to see something. I feel like we're at the end of this chapter. Oh, we still have a few more. Okay, I'm going to pause here. I also forgot to remind everyone, if you ever need me to pause, just chime in. I muted you all, so you have to unmute yourselves. So I stopped on 35. Any thoughts? Questions?
Well, I'm glad you reread 28 because I missed that yesterday. And, you know, it is, I have to say, somewhat discouraging to read it because it basically says you can live a wonderful sacrificial life, you know, helping others. You can practice all sorts of other kinds of practice. But unless you reach Krishna consciousness, which can only happen by the mercy of the Lord, you're not going to reach, whatever level, that is, good luck, honey. You're not going to reach it. And it's kind of like, in this sense, it reminds me, as Alexandra has said before, of other religious texts, which is, it's my way or the highway,
Mhm.
So that's, I don't mean that it's discouraging. It's just that particular sloka was another more of the same. You can find that in almost any core religious text. And I don't know whether it's because religious leaders of yore and now feel that humankind needs to hear something like that. They need a black and white kind of outline, or what motivates this kind of message.
Well, I liked in the bottom, well, I'm being sarcastic. The last sentence of Shloka 31, where it says, a life of Krishna consciousness is therefore the solution to all problems of material existence. Like, I understand why they're saying it, but like, it just, I don't know. That doesn't sit well with me.
But I don't understand why they're saying it. It is so patently not true. Life is not black and white ever. I mean, there are moments of bliss and there are moments of sheer misery. But even within those, they're quite transient in the end. And, so it's never black and white. And I don't know why religious writings feel like they have to say it.
I don't know if I was just like listening in a different way, but Krishna consciousness to me means consciousness of like the universal energy. Like, I don't view it as a institutionalized religion. I'm not sure if I was reading it differently or it's just like my background understanding of it that was making me understand it that way.
If that's the case, Amanda, and certainly that's not only is it more palatable, but to me it makes a lot more sense.
It's like Christ consciousness, right? Like people who like tout that you should always have Christ consciousness,
Yeah,
aren't necessarily always like super involved in the dogmatized what is the word I'm looking for, like the industry of religion. They're usually like very spiritual, sort of like independent thinkers who don't take part in the bigger, and they always say like you shouldn't be in Christ consciousness all the time. And in my mind, like I translate that to Krishna consciousness. It's like all the same. But I may be being naive.
See,
That's
I like
the way I've translated it and understood it.
but in 28 it says, it says you can live in a lot of different ways, but unless you have Krishna consciousness, you're not going to get there. And if you take the perspective that you just said, Amanda, understanding that there is universal energy and you live with that knowledge and you behave with that knowledge always.
Yeah, that's all that Krishna means. Like earlier he mentioned that's why I have a hard time with bhakti, because it personalizes things and that makes people take it personally. You know what I mean? It like, how can you not? But I've always been taught that it's like the same as like a Muslim person always having God in their mind, or a Catholic person always having God in their mind. Earlier on, what you were reading, Pam. What did they say earlier? I have to open the text up. Keep talking, it'll come to me.
I liked reading 28 yesterday, and I hear what you're saying, Sue, but I also agree with what they're saying. I like that they're saying, like, you could go be a good person, because I feel like this person that they're describing. It's like, I can go do all my charitable work, but that doesn't mean I am Krishna consciousness, but I don't feel like I am Krishna conscious. It, I see what Amanda's saying, and that does like make it a little broader, but I still don't think Krishna consciousness, like that sentence of it, like being the solution to all problems of material existence, that's hard for me to swallow. But I can understand what they're saying. Like, you could go do all of these tasks, but if you're not doing it for the reason of Krishna consciousness, you're not going to become Krishna consciousness, right? Like, we spoke
Well,
about,
you're not going to get over the material, right?
yeah,
Because what Krishna is the spiritual. Let's look at it that way. Like, let's look at it instead of like we're hearing Krishna, all we're hearing is Krishna. let's go to the consciousness part. Think of it as like universal consciousness, right? If you're like performing, if you're giving charity and you're doing charity work, but the only reason you're doing it is to look good for other people, that's mired in materialism, right?
Right.
It's like just sort of getting you addicted to the material. Like there's this ulterior material motive. If you have in your mind that every being that I'm serving has a speck of universal consciousness, and I am serving universal consciousness, isn't that a more selfless thing? Like it's that's why this is sometimes called transcendentalism. The idea is to transcend the material lens of the world, because then we stop attenuating more karma. Like if you just keep attenuating more material karma, you're going to keep being addicted to the material, and you're going to keep getting drawn back into the material. And there's not going to be that transcendence, that liberation. Like we're always joking that the key to life, or like the solution to everything, is meditation. What's the point of meditation? The point of meditation is to meld or absorb your awareness in that universal consciousness. So if we just replace the word Krishna consciousness with universal consciousness, I hope that makes the essence of the teachings make more sense, because Prabhupada turns a lot of people off because he's like so traditional and like, well, that's kind of why I always make people read Joshua Green's translation instead, because he's sort of like, it's more modern interpretation that sort of like appeals to our senses currently. Like it appeals more to the intellectual's mind. It makes a bit more sense to me personally. And Prabhupada tends to turn people off, because if you didn't learn it somewhere else in a different way, and then you read that, like, yeah, it sounds like bullshit. Like, what? I'm not gonna. And you know what? Like he changed lives, and he did a lot of really good work, and he's like an amazing being.
Yeah.
But he also produced people, or influenced people, who were mired in materialism and made it like an institutionalized religion that caused harm. So I can understand how that could happen. I get it. Like he produced very enlightened beings, but he also, like through his teachings, but he also produced some really, really bad, like just mired in more materialism. And I think that's the danger of the personalized view, because people make it personal. And if you're looking at it through the material lens, it's like, it's a way to grab power. It's a way, like all the material things that get you in trouble. So I totally hear your viewpoint. So like, I get it. Some of his translations I haven't like been able to stomach or read. I've thrown them across the room.
And overall, I everything you say makes total sense. And on that platform, it makes total sense. I guess my objection is against every single religious writing like this. It's perverted every single time. It is like this endless, painful cycle, which is why, when and I have friends who have different kinds of faith, and they get a tremendous amount from their faith, a tremendous amount. And I can't go there. My husband can't go there. And it is because for all of the good that it offers, so much bad crap happens in the name of. And
All
it's
right.
sort of like,
Yeah.
done with it, done with it. So yesterday my husband said, how are you enjoying your morning sadhana now, and you're reading the Gita? How are you enjoying? Because he read a lot of it when he was in college. He said, what do you think about it? And so I was thinking along exactly the conversation we were just having. So anyway, I'll stop because I know Pam is very time conscious.
No, keep going. It's 8:05. You're fine.
Yeah, but I've been talking a lot and there's other people, so.
It's okay.
But that's the viewpoint of the material, right? Rich people can very easily interpret this information as when it's worded that way. So like there's legitimacy to what you're saying.
Yeah.
There's legitimacy. But like the people that I studied under were like literally living in ashram with him. Like, and they were able to ask in context, like, is that what you meant?
Mm-hmm.
And he was able to explain. So like by learning from them, I feel like they gave me the opportunity to have the real essence of the meaning of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the trouble with like, you read the Bible and it's like this solid text. You can't go to Jesus and be like, hey, this is what it actually means? So then you get all these people who are just viewing it through their own lens, and like what you're saying, like they make big trouble with it. They make big trouble. It happens in every single religion with these texts. It's like, I think that's why that was another thing he said, that like it's better to learn with a bona fide teacher, because they can kind of like help mold your understanding in a way that gets the real essence of like the chain of teachings, the parampara. Because a book, it can only do so much. I mean, like I was very self-educated and all this stuff for a long time. And it was just like years and years and years of trying to piece things together and having these epiphanies. Oh, this works with this. And, and I just kind of like surrendered and I was like, I'm just going to study under a teacher who's like studied the stuff with another teacher. It was like so simple. Oh, well, this is the answer to that. Like they like tied all the pieces together, and it's harder to just read it, from the text, and people make mistakes because we're flawed humans. And yeah.
The good thing about yoga, and these teachings that's different than other religions that I like, is that it continues on with breath and postures, where you don't really get that with other religions. So that's what I like about it. But yeah, a lot of the text is similar, the writings.
Yeah, it gives you a direct experience of something, right, that you can kind of work with.
So it gives a little bit more information or knowledge because it extends into physical and breath.
Mm-hmm.
So I like,
and food and herbs and body and sex and relationship. It's like it covers everything.
Right.
I'm gonna go upstairs to get set up for meditation away from the children.
All right, we'll move into some breath work. and meditation.
Pam, you said that people had questions about the values.
Oh yeah, do you guys want to talk bios today?
Oh, sure. Sure. I like to talk, so it doesn't bother me. Don't do it on my account. I can
Or
meditate at another time.
We can do it tomorrow. We can leave sometime tomorrow for
Well,
values.
tomorrow's Saturday.
Oh, I mean Monday.
Sue, what do you think?
If on a very personal level, I had some wine last night and my brain is this vast fogland. And so Monday.
So Monday?
Okay, Monday.
I didn't even have that much, but I'm not used to drinking anymore.
I haven't had a drink. What's today's date? Let's see. In 26 days.
I don't drink, so.
Good for you.
Oh, how you get through the day. But anyway. All right.
I don't think Amanda's knowledge of bios is going to go anywhere over the weekend. So maybe she'll bring it to us on Monday.
Excellent.
I wasn't sure if you were up for it this morning, Amanda. That's why I didn't want to push you. So
Oh, thank you.
I'll push you Monday. I'll push you Monday,
Okay.
or I'll remind you. So sitting up nice and tall, relaxing the face, lengthening the breath in, deepening it out. Then bring your right hand over to your nose. Close the right nostril with the thumb. Inhale through the left. Close left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Close left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. A few more rounds on your own breath. Adding your locks and retention if it's in your practice. If you want to start practicing it. When you're done with your breathing, I'll exhale out through the left side. I'm setting the timer for 20 minutes. You'll join us when you're ready. Bringing hands to your heart. Namaste.